So the agenda today here is, first I'll just go through a quick introduction for related webinars, then we'll go in directly into the software, look at detailing and editing of Hollowcores, then adding a new Hollowcore definition for some of our slabs in this project. After that, we'll be looking a little bit on the calculation module, which is a direct link to our pre-stressed software, and then ending up with doing some planning for erection, production, and transport, both rough and fine planning. And at the end of the webinar, if we have time, look a little bit on different reports we can print out from the project directly. So the webinar today will have a duration of approximately 45 minutes to 1 hour. So no less than 45 minutes, no more than an hour, hopefully. So let's just get started. The introduction I'll just do here while we look at this PowerPoint presentation, and that, of course, we hosted a couple of webinars in the spring here. The first one was about the design workflow, which was 3 months ago. And there we looked at actually also Hollowcore, but of course, several element types. And this webinar you can go and find in YouTube on the StruSoft official and webinars. The same with the second webinar in relation, which is fine planning and project manager. Some of you were on a third webinar, which was in April, and that webinar is not related to this webinar, so that's why I didn't write it here. So let's just jump straight into it and look at impact. Start with the Hollowcore detailing and editing. So let's close this one down, just minimize it, and now we're in our project manager. Of course, what we do, for those of you who don't know it, do all the project management, also planning if we have the planning module, sorry. So I have a project here, I just created a new project for today. New project, and then wrote the name out here. We have 4 floors, and I actually want to do Hollowcores for all of these 4 floors today. Going in to look at the floors, I can go and take a look here and see the different elevations that I added to these floors. So this is just simply put, the first floor is 15 mils, then 2615 for each floor here. So you'll see that when we do the Hollowcores, they will use these floors. And these, of course, could be relative levels, whatever you use in your projects. You just have to write out what it is, the exact values are here. If we want to add a new floor, press new, and it will use the same data I input the last time, but we can also edit it by double clicking. We don't need more than 4 floors, so I'll just delete this one. So first things first is I want to start creating floor 1. So I'll go into floor plans. And what I did there is, you can see I already have a general arrangement drawing 0101. Later on, I'll create one for one of the other floors. But if we just open this one, then we can see here that we have an architect or an engineer who has been very kind, sending us a model or drawing that we can extract in here, so we can use that as a base layout for our Hollowcores. So this is my floor plan, and all of this here is just an XREF block. So this is where I want to draw my Hollowcores. So I just want to start out really, really simple, and that is by starting out to draw a Hollowcore. So when I press draw Hollowcore, I get this dialog box where it says, which type of Hollowcore section would you like to draw? As you can see, if I change the sections, I'll get different types of Hollowcores, even double T's, etc. Just for this one, I want to do the 19 one, which is 185 millimeters tall. I can also go in, pick a strand pattern, which I want to use for this one. Let's just leave it at this strand pattern number 4. And then it says lifters placed in the Hollowcore. You could lift with clamps. You could also add in lifters. So here I've defined some lifters. We'll also later look into how you actually define this. But to start with, to not keep it too boring, we'll start to draw some Hollowcores. So I just press OK. I'd like this one. So now I have the possibility to create a window where I want the Hollowcores to be, or I could use a polyline or draw out some points. So for the first one area here, I'll use the window command. So simply what I do is pick one corner point and then the next corner point. Then Impact asks us for a support length. If you can see up here, there's a green line and it suggests me 80 millimeters. That's fine for me here. So it will be 80 millimeters into this wall, 0 on the side, and also 80 millimeters here for where we have the beam and the internal walls. And then 0, and for this one, I don't want any sloping hollowcores. So what we see now is Impact suggests to start the hollowcore here to the left, and it fits perfectly with the number of hollowcores. Of course, in live projects, this is rarely the case, but just for this section here, we're lucky. So let's say this is great, the rotation is great, then it will go out and create all these hollowcores. So there are several different ways of working here. I'll add the others in a second, but as you can see, they're drawn like these different recesses or holes that we need to add, and I'm adding them later on. So right now we just want to draw them. So do the same here. Say, I want the same hollowcores to be here. And now I'm picking using the beam to snap to the side here and then down to the corner. So it's the same process, but now this won't fit completely. I need to have a cut element. But again, for me, this is great what it suggests. So I'll just use this. Now it says, where do you want to place your non-complete element? We can, of course, move it depending on where we'd like it to be. So I like it to be the second to the last one. And what I'll get here is a saw. And of course, that suggests where the hollowcore should be cut. And as you can see, the lifters here are also placed accordingly. And we can even see here that we have a small gap. This is because the cutting rules allowed for where I can cut my hollowcore, allow for different increments of cutting. And we'll also look at that in the definition just in a few minutes. So now I have an area down here, which is not a rectangular area. So I want to do the same thing again, but this time instead, when I want to draw them, I just write out P, press enter. And then I can go in, pick the points instead. So first point to second point to third, fourth, fifth, etc. So let me just hit the right points here to snap. Closing this, saying here like support length of 80, 0, 80. As you can see, the green line here is following each side of the hollowcores. And again, here you can see, as the case here, if we want full width hollowcores, I'd actually need to have a gap here that I need to fill out later. So for this case, this is fine for me also. I'd like it to be like this. And now it puts out these hollowcores also. So this is great. Now I actually have all my hollowcore as standard. And that's where I am now. As you can see also, I've turned on, it's showing the size of the hollowcore and the mass. This is what we call the element mark, as right now it's unmarked because I haven't saved it with a number yet. But I'll do that just in a few seconds also. So now there are a couple of different things we want to do. First thing is we want to add these two holes. So I can go ahead, say I want to draw a recess where I can select an element or say none. I'll say none for this case. I want to draw a recess for slabs. They should be in the top side, but I want them to cut all the way through. So there are some different things that I can click here, of course. What should it be? Rectangle, circle, or polygon? Rectangle for me is just fine here. So I'll go ahead, say I want one here and one here. So I'm not drawing this one yet because this I want to do something else. For this one, I want to use my command called Hangar Details. So I select a slab, then select the two slabs that are supporting it. And then, of course, where should we have this hole here? Then I have some different hangers that I can use. I'll use this one for 19 for 185 millimeters. Here we go. So now it details out with the hangers, even changes this element to a smaller size, and everything's already updated here. There's one thing missing, is that the recesses I added before, I just put them onto no elements. That means that I could put them onto several elements at once. So what I can do there then is go in, press Edit Slab, choose slabs that I want to do something with, which in this case are these two. And I say I want to add and update the lifters in each of the elements. And now you can see these are no longer magenta or purple. And if I hover over the element here, we can see that it's actually cut out. This box we see here is, of course, part of the external reference we still had. So now I have this whole floor, whole one side of the building. I want to mirror them over here because, of course, for this case, in this webinar, the building is completely symmetrical, which is perfect for me, of course. So what I do is I just pick everything here. Doesn't matter if I mark too much. The only thing that matters is that the Hollowcores that I want to change are the one that I have marked. Then I use a command here called mirror slabs. And then I choose the center point in the building. And it will then mirror all my slabs, and I do not want to remove the originals. So there we go. And as you can see, these are actually not completely symmetrical because I actually have a circular hole up here. So this one, of course, I want to add a circular recess. So let's just do that, and we'll have actually everything ready here. We could say that I want to pick this element this time instead. Do a circle, pick a diameter, which we'll set to here, 350. Add the circle there. Update the lifters for this element also, and we can see the same thing, that now we'll have a circular hole in the middle. Since it's in the middle of the element, it will do this cross to show us that this will cut all the way through the element. So now I have a complete plan of Hollowcores, and what I want to do is I want to save them, give them element numbers, because this will allow me to actually start working with them in the model viewer. And an extra thing is, for those of you used to using these 2D tools for Hollowcore, etc., this is not done in 2D. It's actually done already now in 3D. This is just a simplified showing, just to show us when we work. It's simple to do it like that, so it doesn't show 100% of the geometry. This is both to keep the computer not from working too much and also to keep it fast. So I want to save these elements. There are several things I could do. I can select elements like this in a specific order, and that means that the first one it will save as element number 1, the next as element number 2, etc. So let's just say I want to save this area here. I pick them all out one by one. And now we'll say, well, Hollowcore 1, I'd actually like to be 1001. Then we can give them new numbers to the more floors to create later. So now Inkex scans all the elements, which are the same. As you can see here, we actually got Hollowcore 1001. We have that 4 times here. And then we have some different ones, and now 11001 again here. So Impact will recognize these Hollowcores. If they're the same, then if you do a drawing, for example, it doesn't do more than one drawing for all these elements combined. You can plot it out, for example, 5 times, or you can plot out a drawing where it says you need to produce 5 of these elements. So let's just go in, look at our project manager here at the model view. And let's just go out here into some symmetric view. So we can see we're here just fine. I have my Hollowcores here. So this is all the geometry of the concrete in the Hollowcores. Let's just go in to this one here, and then we'll say save Hollowcores, save all. And now this time impact will start from somewhere, give them numbers. And of course, it will still match the numbers like it did before. So we'll start from 006 from the next one, and then we'll just continue up. So there we go. Now all of these are also saved. That means that I can go in here to the project manager and refresh. Of course, one thing to mention for those of you who hasn't got impact is that this tool here could be a different person in your company, even sitting in a different office, being able to follow the design all the way through here. So for me, it's just because I'm one person, I'll just change the different pieces of software, but everything, of course, is saved on a server, on a database. So it doesn't matter how many people you are working on it. So I promised to show a little bit of editing the Hollowcores also. So let's pick these we have here, and I want to edit them because I want to change end caps, as we call it. That means I want to use this U2 end cap, U2 here. And this could actually also add these holes here, but for just this case, I actually don't want it to add too much there. So we go ahead, change them all to this and say, well, go ahead, update everything. And you can see now it works itself through the elements, asks me, do you want to update the lifters? And you can also see that they're turning magenta. If you look real close, also that you have a star next to the element mark. And that means the element is not yet saved into the database and uploaded to the rest of the company, for example. So it's just localized in this drawing. Now it asks me, do you want to keep element marks on all elements and save them? Yes, please. And now, again, the system scans through everything for me, saves them with the element marks with the new added geometry. And of course, then we can go into the project manager in a few seconds and look at all of the elements updated. So as you can see now, they've been put a line extra here. This is where this is actually cut. Go into the project manager here and see that the elements are actually cut now if we zoom in. So I'm not going through all the features and functions of the Hollowcore, of course, because we could spend a lot of time doing this, but these are just some basics. Of course, you can move the lifters, you can add extra cast-in materials, etc., etc., etc. But what I want to do now is, as I said before, looking at the PowerPoint presentation, is we want to create a whole new Hollowcore definition. So let's say that in this case, we have these Hollowcores here. These are not that long and might not require that much, so I might want to go for a slimmer construction, slimmer profile there. So what if I want to go with a slimmer profile, but I haven't added this into my software yet? I did a quick drawing up here. I call it new definition. This line here is simply just a polyline, completely regular AutoCAD polyline. These here, just press regen, are just circles that I added in, which of course makes up the holes. And then here we have the strands, which are the maximum possible number of strands for this Hollowcore profile. The strands here are blocks that you insert. And in all of your company standards, for all existing customers, also for all new customers, these blocks are included in your company standard. So if I go in here, browse them, you can see I have a lot of different types of blocks here. And we can go down and say, well, I want to go down and find these strand symbols. As you can see here, I have 4 different symbols. This can be used, for example, if you have lines, 9.3 mil lines, 12.3 millimeter lines, whatever the size, you can use these 4 different ones we created for you. If you have more than 4, you can just create more yourself. So let's say I actually want to add the strand symbol 3 here. I just press open, press OK, And I already have it in this project, but let's just redefine it then. And I add it here. So this one I can just copy, usual, completely regular copy paste function in AutoCAD. Well, that's actually all I need. You can see here, I added some red lines here. I will show you what that is in just a couple seconds. So I have to start completely from scratch here, creating a new Hollowcore type. I go in here to, this one is called Hollowcore Definitions. As you can see, this is my project. On the project, I have one called 19 and one called copy of 19. If I go into the company here, it has several different ones that we could choose from before. But what I want to do is, now when I create a new one, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So what I do is I take 19 here and I copy it. And we will call this one, let's just call it New Hollowcore 175. 175 millimeters in description, perhaps. So we go in here and now we can see this is actually the old one. What I can just do is I can say I want to select objects. Now I already did the polylines. These red lines, it doesn't care because these are just regular lines. So I can just go ahead, pick the whole thing, press enter. It will ask me, do you want impact to get the course? Yes, please. Do you want get the strand positions? Yes, please. And now we can see, now we actually have the new profile. Now it says we have new height, we have a new width, tolerance, and everything. Go ahead, looking at the course, it already added them. Cutting here is the old cutting, and that's where these red lines that I did come into play. So I want to do the same thing here. I want to select cut zones instead. So now I need to select an insertion point and then select cut zones. Start, end, start, end, start, end. Just really, really simple. Just wanted to snap to completely the correct place. There we go. Enter when we're finished, and we can say now it's allowed to cut here. Strands is already added the strands. Strand patterns is, we have the old strand patterns, of course, from the last one. Don't want any of those. I'll just create a new one. And just for this case, I will just call this one all. We will just add one with all. We can add as many as we'd like here. So this is actually built out completely from scratch. So we'll say the diameter for these is 12.3. And it has a pre-stressing value of 120. This is in kilonewton. Go ahead to lifting is, we want to use the same lifts. This is a standard lifter that I used for this one. For the drawing, I want the section to draw a geometry. Naming the Hollowcore, I want the Hollowcore to be name 175. We have calculations here for the calculation module later. We can reset this one. As you can see, the green one is the calculated value. If I reset it, it will get as close as it possibly can automatically. And then we can add recesses that can go through the center, or add these recesses at the edge, where this one is rectangular and circular, could also be just rectangular, of course. So this is the whole new Hollowcore section that I did. And so how do I change what I've already done now? What I do is I pick these, edit them again, go into properties, say instead of 19, I'd like to use new Hollowcore 175. Instead of using this R1 end cap, I'd like to use no end cap at all. Here we go. Update lifters, yes please. Same with the last. As you can see, if you really pay close attention to the right here, you can see the lifters will actually move. You see here now they're placed more in the side of this element because it's set up to place the lifters in specific cores. So for this one, it might not be this what we're actually looking for, but where it places the lifters, you can just go in here and take a look. Lifting says core 2 and 7. This Hollowcore itself only has 7 cores, so we might be 2 and 6 instead. There we go. Well, we don't want to spend, again, too much time on this, but that means that we actually have the whole thing now. Let's say that this floor is actually finished now. And again, let's say that now, some of you may not use drawings, a lot of you do. Let's just create drawings for these ones at the top. So now we'll say use the template drawing, this is fine. And it will create drawings for all of these Hollowcore. And these drawings, of course, we can use later when doing planning and everything. So what it does is it creates for each type of element one drawing file. So we have one drawing file for Hollowcore 1001, one file for 1002, etc., etc. So going in here, I'm just refreshing again, just so we'll be able to see the new Hollowcores here, which have a slightly different profile. As you can see here, the side, we can see the new profile there. And what I want to do is, I want to copy these ones up to next floors. So I want to copy elements and element marks. And I want to increase the drawing number by 1000. That means that they will be called 2001, 2002, etc. And I can actually even also copy the shop drawings. So let's just go ahead and say yes. And now we'll say that you have shop drawings on these elements. Those are the ones that will be copied. This is completely fine. Here we go. Now it copied all the drawings that were already done and all the elements. And of course, it's completely the same process, copying up to the next floors again. So we'll just do all 4 floors, and I'll just say we don't want to copy the drawings for the last 2 ones. And we'll copy the last one here. 1000 more. Oh, sorry. Copy from floor 3 to floor 4. Here we go. What I can also do now is just mark out floor 1 here. Is go ahead, open up this one, open drawing. It will open up the Hollowcore drawing right in here. So this is the drawing that will get plotted out. Everything's there. So it's just sending it, matter of sending it to the plotter. It will even write here as an example, element IDs 56 and 73. So we can then plot it out. So we'll do one drawing for 56, one drawing for 73, or just one drawing combined for these ones. And we can open all of the drawings from in here, the working model, or from in here, from our project managing tool. So that brings us on to actually our planning. So let's say that we have our designers or detailers. They now say that, well, I want to set elements as ready for production because these are ready now. They'll go ahead and say, set elements ready for production. These elements are ready for production because we have drawings on them and everything. We say ready. That means that the project manager out here will now see which elements are ready for production and which are not ready for production. As you can see, everything that's blue is now ready for production. We can go up here, status info, which says, what is the blue one? 20 blue, it is design released, which is, of course, could be the same as ready for production. So, of course, when I have Hollowcores, I just want to do some floor planning here. Oh, firstly, I want to do an erection sequence planning. So picking out elements here in the order that I want to erect them. So for the first ones, I pick them from left to right and then from right to left. Add the elements to this erection plan. And it's actually done. As you can see now, it has erection sequences. Go ahead to the simulation part here, where then I would like actually to simulate this erection sequence. I do not want to see unplanned elements. Now you can see we can't see anything, but if I then say I want to do the simulation, I'll then play it, and then you would be able to see this is how we're erecting these Hollowcores. And of course, if we had walls, etc., we'd also done an impact or some other software imported into impact, you'd also be able to see that in here. So this shows what I just did here. This is the order of erection. So going into the element ID tab up here, which will show all of our drawings here, we might want to filter out saying, I only want to see the elements that are actually ready for production, and I will have them here. And then we can see we have, these are just the data for the elements. So if I take an element, mark it here, or mark it here, and go into the model view, you can see that it's already marked. So you can see it says ready for production date is today. But then just continue a little bit over here is I also have the erection sequence number. It might also be that I want to set the erection date here just for rough planning. So let's set the date to Friday. We're quick in this factory we have here. So everything has to be erected on Friday. That also means that we actually want it to be delivered probably the same day, maybe the day before or something. We can change the date by the erection date and set it, but we'll do some delivery planning instead on this one. The same with the production. So now we know the date here at least. So there's several things you can do. Is you can start by doing the erection planning, or you can end up doing it, but we'll just start from the last thing, start from the site and work our way backwards. So that means I want to do some transport planning. And there are some different ways I can do this. I can pick out the elements just like before. Let's say I pick out these 5 slabs here. And then what I want to do is I want to create a transport. You can see over here to the left, how many tons do I have in total, how many elements, etc. Do this using a truck, 20 tons truck. And I can also set now the load and delivery date. Of course, I'd like it to be delivered the 21st or the 22nd. And of course, also loaded maybe the same day. So we can start this one out and plan out 5 elements for production. This uses out 39% of the truck, and they are now planned. So what we can do is go in, again, look at the element color, because colors are set up to make everything easy for us. We have a 3D model, we might as well just color it. So as you can see down here, number 1 transport is red. That's the color here also. And do the same here. As we can see, we have erection sequence 6, 7, 8, and 9. So what I want is, I want number 9 to be at the bottom, and then number 6 to be at the top, of course. We do the planning here, and you can see we can say selection order, or we can actually say erection sequence reversed. We just deliver these ones the same day. Starting this one out. And now if I go and look at this, you can see there's a stack sequence number here, where it says this element here is stacked first, then this, then this, and this. So of course, the complete opposite of the way we erect them, because the one at the top, of course, is the one that we set up first. So then we go ahead, do the same thing, and we can also say that, let's say that this one fits on a truck. The truck I have here just says 20 tons. You can put on different rules for that one. And we can say start here. Now I planned 8 elements out. 62% of the maximum mass is counted. And what can even do this is I can take this one, drag it down into this one. It says 68 now. And then we have this one at the top. So just to keep it simple, we'll create a couple of new transports, but we might not want to transport these already now because they're not really ready for production yet. So this is fine. We'll just keep planning this section we have here. So now we have the transport planning. What I can do then is, what I like to do usually is take it up here, put it here, so I can see both the transport and the cast planning. And in the cast planning here, I have my factory, my Hollowcore factory, where I have 4 Hollowcore beds and then a big bed for, it might be TT beams, it might be slabs. Of course, this one is set completely up to your company standard. So what I want to do is, it might be that I just want to plan everything out. So I just pick it here, drag and drop it down to the casting unit. It will just place them out. It might also be that this is not the order I want to do it in. I might want to set a rule for it instead, so I can press the auto bed management, say I want to plan these on Hollowcore bed number 1. But this should be by width and then length ascending. So it will take, as you can see here, it will plan out the smallest one first. But it depends on how you'd like it. You could also do planning after these erection sequences and the transport. There's tons of different ways of doing it, of course. But this one, we take this one, drag and drop it. I actually don't want to drag and drop it. I want to cast these the day after. So we go ahead, do like this. Now it says, because I am at the 21st, these elements has the same delivery date as the cast date. Are you sure you want to continue? So there's some warnings if we go past the dates, and we'll just say, well, this is fine. I'd like to continue. No problem at all. So now we've also planned these, and of course, as the rest here, these are planned in 3D on the casting units. So now I have 2 days, the 20th and the 21st. These are similar elements. So what I can do is I can go in and I can micromanage these. So let's say that I would like this element to be planned on another day, or I would like this one to be moved over here instead. So many different tools for this, of course. I want to squeeze the gaps together, and we can do it like that. So it allows you to micromanage completely, to utilize fully your casting units. What you can even see is, if we go into the calendar here, I have shown here 2 weeks, which is week 25, week 26, starting from Monday the 18th. Tuesday the 19th is where we're at today. That is why this is yellow. And then you can see in my factory, I've planned out these 3 beds. Wednesday the 20th on my Hollowcore bed 1. Thursday the 21st on my Hollowcore bed 1 as well. And then Wednesday also on my Hollowcore bed number 2. If I double click this, it will bring me straight into here. But what the nice thing about this is that this will write out how much do I have available. So I can see straight away here that this one is not fully utilized. If I have the same type of element that is less than 13.88 meters, which Hollowcores are most of the time, of course, then it actually fits 13.88 meters more of Hollowcore. So I don't even have to go into the detail one, but I can still do it to go in, micromanage, say, well, actually what I want to do is drag this one up there again, for example. And again, if I don't want to drag it manually here, so it's close, I can go ahead and say, actually want you to squeeze the gaps together, of course. So if I go in to my element IDs, I'll just move the transport planning down again, just to keep it simple. Then what I want to be able is to see all, of course, of the elements. We can also look at the element marks here. And now, as you can see, why is the element IDs empty? And that's a great thing about these live webinars, is because before I filtered them to only show elements that had status number 20, which was ready for production, but none of the elements still has that status because I started to plan them for transport and for casting. So now I actually want to see them all again, because of course, if we go ahead here, look at the status, you can see the element has status number 30 instead. But now when we look at this, as we did before, all of this was empty. But now you can see that now we have transport numbers, now we have stack IDs, stack numbers, even cast numbers, plant production dates, plant delivery dates, as well as we had our planned ready for production date and everything. So what we can then do is again say, well, I want to see the transport numbers starting from that. So there's tons of different ways of filtering it. I can even go ahead and say, what I want to do is I want to split these elements up into what has been transported. So transport number 1 has 5 elements, 2 has 4 elements, 3 has 9 elements, and we have 18 elements on floor 1, which has not been planned for transport. So I just wanted to do this just to show you that it's very flexible how you want to show your different elements. So the next step is, of course, in the perfect world, we don't want any drawings, we don't want any PDFs, we don't want anything. But of course, often we need to have a few reports as well. So what I can do is go in to my calendar, choose, for example, one bed. I can even choose the bed over here. I can just show that. Pick this one. Say, what I actually want to do is I want to open the drawings, for example, here in DWG or PDF. I can also go ahead and plot the drawings out to plot it directly. So we can just take the drawings, put them out on the casting bed, or plot them to PDF for someone to review, of course. What can also be done is export data, of course, unit technique, etc., etc. You might have a plotter, you might have some other machinery that can read these elements. So, and of course, now this is tomorrow, but I can also go in, right click, set the status of this one to produced. Of course, it's not produced yet because this is tomorrow. This can also will also change, of course, the status of the elements. Let's just try see if we can be allowed to set it as produced. I think we are. Here we go. If I go ahead, look at the element status now, just refresh the elements. And we will see we have 2 different colors because the yellow ones were the ones that were planned, and now we have the rest that are produced. These colors, of course, you can change completely yourself. I'm just looking quickly to see if we have any questions dropping in. We don't have any questions dropping in right now. That's completely fine, perfectly. But that actually is a very quick go through. I know that 45 minutes explaining, doing a little bit of design here and there, well, everything just is fast, and it might be difficult to follow also, of course, but this is a webinar showing, of course, some of the possibilities we have, and of course, not completely the same as a training. So we can also go in here, see the cast, again, many different ones. So what I promised was we could look a little bit on different reports. So it might be that I need some reports for these Hollowcore elements. It might be, for example, a cast report with pictures, maybe even. I just print it out and we'll do a cast report of this cast here. Then throw it out into Excel so I can actually go ahead and edit it myself if I need something extra. As you can see here, it inputs a QR tag, which allows us to scan it from a mobile application, update the status of the elements, etc. What it also does is it also puts out the pieces and units here, so we'll be able to see that, well, we actually have these KA K6002.5. These are lifters. So that means 36 of this type of lifter goes into this casting unit. And then here we have the position of the elements, X, Y, and Z. So of course, this is simple. This is Hollowcore. If we had a narrow unit next to a different one, we would see some different Y coordinates also, maybe even some rotations. Length, width, height, weight, etc. So these reports can be set up however you like them. As you can see, some of mine is a little bit in Swedish also, but this is done using a report tool where you can just edit this. Of course, that's a little bit outside the scope of this webinar. You might also want to print a report out, let's say element labels instead. It might be you have a plot of printing out the labels on the sides of the Hollowcore. Well, that's a question of, do you have the equipment or don't you, or do you need it or don't you? And of course, the element labels here, really simple label I've set up. Shows the element name, ID, project, even if we put it on storage, length with height, weight, and even a QR tag again, which this one wouldn't hurt if it got a little bit bigger, but you can change that in the template also. What day is the element cast, which is tomorrow. I just cheated the system a little bit. And then it creates them all. The only thing you have to do is print them out on a plotter configuration where it just prints out the exact label here. And let's see if we have one last thing we might want to do. If we can go into the calendar and say, well, actually I can go and take both of these casting units on the same day and then print out, for example, a production per day, element control, or even the element labels for all of these. Or let's try a cast and material specification summary for all the elements, which is also a different report. There we go. Now we have the summary here. Let me just get it here. So this says the casting materials we have in these units for these 2 days are position number 0155, which is this lifter again, 72 lifters, and this FPL 300/100 is the items that were inserted when we did the recess for the hangar, sorry. So if we go ahead here, this is the casting material, which you see, which is the FPL. It might also be worth it just to open up this drawing so we can see the casting material and the specification for it. So you can see here, oh, sorry, this is the casting material and the specification is up here, FPL 300/100, and all dimensions again. So that was a quick go through of the Hollowcore. 50 minutes has passed, or 51 minutes. Well, I would say that is well between 45 minutes and 1 hour. There is an option for all of you to write a question in chat and for everything. So now my colleague is so nicely right. You're forgetting to do the calculations, Nikolaj. And of course, we need to do those because that's one of the big parts of this one. But fortunately, since we spent 51 minutes, this won't take more than 10 minutes anyways. So let's go ahead here. Say that, well, now I want to calculate something. So I go in to the calculation tab. Before I go into that one, just want to show you something quickly in the project manager. Oh, sorry. So we go into project properties here, and we have a calculations tab. And in this calculation tab, you set the standards for which Eurocode to use, exposure class, environmental class, etc. for this project, also the different supports, and deflection limitations and calculation settings here. So I won't go too much through that. That's pretty easy to try and change yourself. I just want to go in here, go ahead, look at my load combinations. Firstly, these are the standard ones for the Eurocode. If this one is empty, we set reset and we'll then fill them out. If I press reset here, it will just say you already have them there. So this is okay. And again, if I go into base load cases, you can see that I have a couple of different ones here. I can even add a new, so write new load here. I can add that one also. So this is the way you can add more loads. Then, of course, we can set these different loads in load combinations into all of these combinations. So you could put in the load cases onto the load combinations. So we say that we want the final stage A, we'll just keep it to that one. I want to add that one. And I want to add it with B1, B2, B4, and B5. The surface load might be times 1.5 or something like that. So this is just different load combinations we can write out. So you can see here that specify a formula. What is this real formula then? Is the final stage equals 1.5 times the surface load plus dead load, line load, and point load if we have any. So we just say okay to that. And then all that's left is just to simply draw out these different loads. So let's start by adding some point loads, saying, let's say it's 4 kilonewton point load on here and here. Also, if we had a second floor, there might be a wall across the elements. Let's just pretend that there is, where we'll input a line load. The wall goes from here to here, and it might even go all the way down here. Now you can see it also sets the line load. The line load is set to 2 kilonewtons per meter. The point loads are set to 4. And then I want to add also a surface load, which could be, let's say 1.5 kilonewton per square meter. And for this one, I can just simply go ahead, pick the points. Just to show how this works, I'll just close it from here, and you will actually get a triangular load case, or a load, surface load. So, and this, of course, could be done on the whole plan. There's no reason for us to do everything now. And what I want to do is I want to calculate this, and I want to bring in the results into Impact. So go ahead, press calculate, and then I pick the elements I want to calculate. Let's say these 4. The different ways of doing this. The first way I'll do it is I'll create a PDF with general values, and I want to import the results also. So when I import the results, it will go ahead, open up pre-stress in the background. Just press OK here. If you can see the bottom of my screen here, pre-stress is now open doing the calculation. Now it calculated these slabs, and it said put on loads. It said they're all blue, and then you can see these MSMR and VSVR and the values of these. What's already done as well, why I just copied that one, is that in the general, next to the general arrangement drawing in my project, it created a PDF sheet with the rough values of these ones, warnings and information if there's something that wouldn't be too good here, of course. But here you can see all of these loads. So, but this is of course only if we have standardized things. What if then if we want to do some really specialized thing on one of the slabs, for example? Let's take this one. Then what we want to do is we want to export it for external calculation. Press OK, open it up with pre-stress. Now we have our slab in pre-stress instead, with everything input, the wires, the geometry, and everything. This one I won't spend any more time on now because this belongs in a pre-stress webinar, of course, but here you can, of course, continue your analysis, fire design, everything like that. So this to export the geometry from impact directly into pre-stress. So that actually covers the calculation part really, really quickly. What you might want to do is you might want to create a drawing where it says calculation. So you don't have everything on top of each other. But a simple thing is just generate drawing. Just show you here. If I go in floor plan, I want a new floor plan, say calculation plan, press OK. I just need to see which floor. Sorry, I was a little bit quick there. Floor 1, this is great. OK. Go ahead, open up the calculation plan. As you can see, this looks really pretty empty. But I can then go in and say, what I want to see is I want to see floor 1. So I can then do the calculations. I just press OK, and then Impact will draw up the floor for me. Here we go. So now we have a fresh plan that could be used just for calculation purposes, of course. So there is one thing more that I'd like to show you, because for the ones of you already using the Hollowcore module, we have a new feature, which is not exactly new, but it might be that many of you don't know it. So let's say that we have, I'll just draw something next to this. We have some Hollowcore elements that are, I'll just do a window instead, that's easier. At the side here. So these are way too long, of course. Go ahead and I think I need to change the length of these also. Let's just go ahead, change the length. But as you can see now, I can say this is a changeable side. I don't want to extend it. I want to make it a little bit shorter. Of course, this was not enough, but there's some other way doing it also. What if not only the length needed to be changed? What if also the geometry needed to be changed? If I have a polyline, for example, like this, we might put it up a little bit, move it a little bit up here. There we go. Then I want to make sure that these elements follow this polyline. What then I do is that the new feature I talked about, trim and extend slabs, press the button. Which slabs do I want to trim and extend? These ones. Where do I want to trim and extend them to? Here we go. Do you want to extend or trim the right side? And how you figure out what the right side is you look at the writing here. So this up here is the bottom left side. This up here is the bottom right side. So we'll say yes. And there we go. Everything's updated with the lifters, with the mass, and with the size. So, well, I think that actually concludes the webinar exactly in 1 hour. So that was great. And we should have responded to if any of you had any questions. But great webinar. Thank you all for attending, and hope you'll attend our future webinars, as well as go into YouTube and find our already existing ones. So I'll just end by showing you here StruSoft Official. And if you write just StruSoft Official in YouTube, you can go down to Impact Precast. There is here a part or a playlist called Impact Webinars. If you can't see it, you can press the arrow to the side, then you'll be able to see it. I can just press here. And then we have our different Impact webinars, and this is also where this webinar will be uploaded. Well, thank you all, and hopefully see you soon again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.